Good evening, friends, dear friends. Thank you for joining with us again today. So we decided to disconnect so that you can prepare yourself more. So as you know, we have been discussing a lot about the mind recently. So even in our weekly and daily reflection, we discuss the nature of the mind. So if you are again new joining us on Facebook and YouTube, the mind is something which is immaterial, yet we live with it. We might be aware of it. If we are aware, we tell ourselves we are mindful, or if you are not aware, even in our day-to-day conversations, we might use the word absent-minded. So if you remember recently, we also reflected saying, science can detect the brain and the activity of the brain, but science cannot identify what the mind is, what the brain is thinking, what the mind is thinking. So it is this immaterial, it is this mind that we are trying to understand in the mindfulness meditation. So you cannot pinpoint the mind where it is unless you identify what it is doing. Now science cannot identify that, as I said, using all the technical. Just maybe science might not be able to tell us what the mind is thinking. But if we are aware, and we are talking of what I use the word channels, if we are aware at every moment what channel you are receiving the information, then that is quite good, that is important, that is what we are trying to do. So what is this awareness that we are talking about? The awareness of the activity of the mind, mindfulness. So if you are seeing, now that seeing, if your eyes are open, happens always, but that does not mean every information is going to the mind. Although our eyes are wide open, unless conscious awareness comes there, you don't see the things. And clearly the Buddha states, it is because of this object and the eye sense there arises within us eye consciousness. So in the channel, we have to understand this eye consciousness. It is because of those three present, we develop within ourselves a series or a process of thinking. Okay. So then we have the ear consciousness. Although our ears are wide open, we only begin to listen or hear when there is a bit of vibration that triggers the mind. So when you are daydreaming, you don't see, although your eyes are wide open. When you're daydreaming, we don't hear, although our ears are open. So when the sound, when the object enters and triggers the sensation then we call it ear consciousness. So similarly, taste, smell, touch in the physical sense, they are all avenues or channels where information flows into the mind, and the mind is very busy. Mind is busy. So if you are again new to this program, Buddhism we also take that mind is also a platform for thoughts to arise, not just those five senses. So being mindful of this movement of the mind from one sense base to the other. So when I say sense base, the eye, to channel eye, or ear, or nose, or so seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, or feeling, and then thinking. So beyond this six, there's nothing there. Beyond the six, there's nothing there. So let's just take, for example, your eye caught sight of an object. Now, because your awareness was there, you saw that object. And now we have this thought process starting to develop within us. Okay. But the habit of the mind is the tendency of the mind is what we have to be now mindful. Now, whether or not our awareness was there, the seeing always happens, the hearing always happens. But what happened after that? What do we do with that thought? Now that thought becomes like a snapshot. Now we have these digital cameras, mobiles. The lens is there. You can see through the other side of the lens, and an object is there. Once you press the button, a thought has arisen within us now. Now whether or not you close the lens, even if you close your eyes, now that thought is there. Okay. So what you saw, what you hear is always there as a snapshot. What do you do with it? Just imagine what you might do would be, you might start investigating in a different way. You might explore step by step and gradually come to a conclusion. Or you like it, or you don't like it. You like it, and then your attachment or the analysis have made you come to a conclusion. Now a person that is not mindful will not see this process, and we can break this down even. Now, how did this like or this conclusive judgment come about straight away? Now let's pull the rubber band, stretch it out, and you can see. You might be expecting something. You might cross-reference to a memory. You might see your values within it from a fixed point of view. I can come with a long list of things. Now, all of this has been gone through quickly in a nanosecond for that conclusive judgment to come about. And gradually we see that this judgment makes us fail to see the process within. But if you're mindful, you will see that your mind is actually working on things. It's like a problem-solving moment. We go deeply, delve, and try to solve something before we come to a final answer. It's like that. So we go from, our mind starts proliferating deeply, working on lots of things before they come to a conclusion point. But we have to be skillful at this moment. If we are not skillful, this process tires us so much. Now, our experience is quite different. Now, this experience is always happening, yet we don't see this in its true sense. We know it's happening, but we might not be aware when it is happening. Now, all this process, proliferation, is taking place within. The stirring up happens. Now, the I meeting the object itself when there is this awareness or consciousness, that's the moment when the ignition starts taking place. It ignites this stirring business. Then, as I said, memories, fixed views, your conclusive fixed views, your likes and dislikes, your personality, your ego, everything becomes a filtering process here. Are we mindful of this happening? Do we know it's happening? To know it's happening, have we identified its origin of its taking place within yourself? The object is there, and the thought is there, and the thought is taken that snapshot, and we act upon this judgment that we bestow to this thought that arose. You can call it the likes, or you can call it, there are many ways of looking at it, as maybe you please yourself within it. And when you further explore, you forget about that the object is already not there. The thought process is like a movie now. Once you've seen a movie, now the thought process is within yourself. It's not a printout picture, and the movie also has not got a film. If you take into the modern day context, it's all the zeros and ones in the digital world. But that you can physically still do something, but this thought, this process is immaterial. It's not something that is tangible, but it's only to be identified and seen within. I don't know what is going through your head, neither can you know what is going through my head, or my mind, let me rephrase that, what is going through your mind and my mind, we don't know. Yet, if it is exposed from our subsequent thought processes, then you can start to identify. So, we cling on to this snapshot, we cling on to this movie, and you always see this within yourself, and you see that, you try to see that there is someone experiencing this, or you are using that to either entertain, to satisfy, or to develop this expectation that you always have. In the Nibbedika Sutta, this is in this penetrative analysis sutta in the Anguttara Nikaya, we talk about it as Sankapparaga. We begin to hold on. This becomes a sensual process in terms of either entertainment or in terms of this thought becomes something that you engage with. And in the past I have been using this word as you raise your bar of expectation. You always try to match that next time. Or even in the current moment, there's nothing that is tangible in this. That sight, that flower, that thing, the objects that you saw, heard, they have already gone to the past. The sound that you heard about a second ago is no longer existing in the current present moment, but it is in your memory, in a recent memory, as you just know what's happening. The food that you tasted is no longer here, but it is in the thought. The physical sensation that you experience is no longer present because the nanosecond has already gone, yet it is in the thought. It is in this chain of thinking process. And it is still adding up to all your memories and your experiences and your judgments and being nurtured by all your deeply rooted fixed views, likes, dislikes. Now, all we have seen in the outer sense would be, that's there, that's nice, it's good, or you don't like it. But deep inside, so many things have been happening for you to even take that decision. So in meditation, we do is observe this process. When you experience something, do we disconnect with it or do we indulge in it? Yes, both are decisions made. But when you learn how to disconnect, when you learn how to release, all the process that you came to the point to your final judgment is no longer there. So mindfulness needs to be then and there, as it happens, not after the train's gone. Now that is in the external, physical, material things that enter through your senses to the mind. But deep inside, how does the thought process work as well? Every thought process is linked perhaps to a memory in the past. Every thought, you deal with it with a judgmental view. And we start labeling it sad view, or sad memory, happy memory, good, bad. We do this labeling business. And when we come to that conclusive point of it's not meeting your expectation, when it's not, if all your thought processes don't meet your expectations, we get dissatisfied. Are we aware of this? Do we become sad when things don't happen? Do we become sad when you have personalized those events and victimized yourself with memories? It's no longer there, but yet we still take that as an ingredient to cook within ourselves. And we work with it so much so that it starts becoming frustration, developing into irritation, developing into agitation. That dislike starts triggering something else. You can call it suffering, you can call it stress, you can call it agitation, distress. So the mind has this nature of compartmentalizing into groups, likes and dislikes, and they're all because of the ignorant mind, or the mind becoming deluded, thinking that picture is still there at the present moment. And the snapshot, that the thought that we actually held into, is always the referral point. And the more we refer to that thought, that arose within yourself, this process is always taking place. Even if you sit down, you close your eyes, then something comes and then you are dealing with it. You sit down to watch telly, if a thought comes, then you are dealing with it. So you are either developing worries, trying to rewrite history to the emotions, but you can never be successful because that's the same thing again happening. No matter what you do, it's still the same picture, same thought, same sankappa. And the more you deal with it, the more there's fear within arising. And then fear will start making us plan for future. Planning for future takes place from there. So you can see that we are not in control. We are victimizing ourselves with that thought that we held into. So it's quite important to be mindful of this. Even when a thought is in your mind, even when sadness is in your mind, they're all a result, but not reality. They are a result of something. It is because of something that it got triggered. If you go deeply, yes, the only reference point would be you desire something and then it is not happening the way you wanted it. And you feel that there is someone, something to experience this, and it did not happen there. So that delusion strikes in, creating anger and dissatisfaction. So every thought process sometimes is like that. So mindfulness is a very good skill that Buddha taught, to be aware of it, to identify its presence, to always know it's there if it is there. Don't look for it, but be mindful when it arises. When it arises, if you're mindful, you see it. If you're mindful, you don't see the rise. Okay? And you might just see the existence of it when you get a bit tired of thinking about it. And this is happening in less than a nanosecond. I don't know how to put that into language. But the more you are mindful, the more you feel empowered. And that empowerment is about being in the present moment. When in the present moment means you are just being with experience without choosing what to do. You are just being with experience. You are not connecting with experience as we have done at the beginning of this explanation. Because thoughts and experiences are separate. You have to separate them. You must see the experience but not let it affect the mind. Because the moment it gets connected and affects the mind, then there is greed, hate, ignorance and so forth arising within us. So we develop this choice by mindfulness. So in this mindfulness there is happiness because there is no judgment. Where there is no judgment, where there is no filtering, there is true happiness. The peace of mind that you get through disconnecting only one who has experienced it can explain. So freeing yourself from all of this is very important. But to free yourself from it, you have to identify it. So that's why we use the identification technique when your mind wanders. When you try to put it in one place, the mind obviously gets bored and starts looking for excitement and moves on into those channels and looks for entertainment. And be mindful of this movement. Be mindful of this switching of channels. And that is mindfulness. So identify as it happens. Don't let it drag you to a series of thinking processes or a series of filtering processes. Recognize it as it happens. The first R. Oh, this is seeing. So you become aware that your mind had gone to the seeing channel. Okay, so you note seeing, seeing, seeing 3 times. And you let it go. So you don't stay there. Because when you stay there, you are indulging, delving, you are proliferating, you are lost. Your mind is lost in that channel. So don't lose yourself in the seeing. Recognize, and then as soon as you recognize what it is, don't even start giving it like a full name. So just seeing or hearing or thinking or planning or sensing or tasting, just like that, rather than I'm seeing a person, then that goes to another thought, another thought, another thought. So just seeing and release, let it go. Don't stay there. And always practice to return back home to your breathing. So use breathing as a tool to help us. Breathing is not mindfulness. Breath is not meditation, but it is a tool to help us develop this technique that you can then transform your way of thinking. So develop mindfulness, so recognize, see its presence and learn how to let it go. And then you'll be free from all this clinging to those thoughts, because every moment there is a thought coming to your head. Try to free yourself by adding values or opinions or judgments about it. So free yourself. No judgment, no opinions, no filtering business, no cross-referencing, no analyzing, simply identifying. Bear attention, just identify what it is, and as soon as you identify it, let it go. Okay, so that is what we are going to do for the next 20 minutes, to just simply be observant, a purposeful attention on your breath, and the rest is to develop the 3R techniques: recognize, release, and return. So breathing in, breathing out. Just simply watch that movement of the breath. Remember, breath is not meditation, it's an object. But the way the mind works and being attentive to that is meditation, the mindfulness that we're talking about. Okay? But first there are ground rules. So sit straight. And then your right hand on your left palm. So balanced body, right hand on your left palm, and eyes gently closed. So first, just be mindful of your body, the way it's posed. So, a very peaceful and calm mind is important So for that, we still our mind through the existing positions and your outer body. So look at your body and just observe the way it is posed from top to bottom. This is called the scanning method, to slowly and gradually still your mind. As if you are scanning your body from toe to head, just observe the body and notice the experiences or the sensation that might be there. Don't look for things, but simply see the presence of things, whatever your mind grasps. So if you take your mind to your feet and just stay there for a while, whatever your mind grasped, say for example it was the touch, stay there with the touch. Don't analyze the touch, don't delve in it, don't cross-reference, don't like, don't dislike. Simply observe the sensation as it is. Touch. And that's it. No opinions, no filtering business. So when you move on to your ankles, for example, what did your mind grasp? And stay with it. Most probably, again the touch or the absence of touch or the sense of cold or heat might be there. Your knees, and the way you're sitting, your bottom, your straight body, shoulders, arms to your elbows, your hands, your head, and your face. So it's a very good technique to slowly still your mind. Mind was very active listening to me talk, so now you're very still. And you can feel that your mind is not wandering as well. You know it's not wandering when you purposely train your mind to stay at one point. Now see the body as a whole. Be mindful of the whole body, quietly sitting. It's motionless. It's not restless as it used to be or as it is at other times. Identify that calmness in the body. See its presence. It's not fidgeting or expecting anything, simply trained to sit down. And if there are family friends with you, just notice their presence. Notice the infrastructure around you, a quick scan, and everything is peaceful. And now bring that gradually stilled mind to your breath, and just observe that breath, breathing in, breathing out. Just stay with that breath. See the movement as you scan your body. See the movement of the breath through your nostrils and out. Observe the length, the duration, and identify as long breath or short breath. Long in breath, long out breath. If it is short, short in breath, short out breath. If you're new, remember the counting method. Pinpoint the start of in-breath as 1, continuity is 2, and pinpoint the end of in-breath as 3. When you breathe out, pinpoint the start as 3, 2, and the end of out-breath is 1. 1, 2, 3, 3, 2, 1. Just train your mind to stay with that breath. Don't think, don't let thoughts disturb that peace of mind. If it comes, if it grabs our attention, recognize, don't analyze, don't filter, just let it go, release, come back to your home base, that is the breath. So for the next 15 minutes, simply focus on your breath, observe the pattern of the breath, and stay with it. Should your mind wander, recognize, release, return. If your mind is switching the channels, just be mindful of that and label it with seeing, recognize what it is doing, hearing, feeling, tasting, worrying, planning, getting frustrated because of the itchiness, getting irritated because of the pain. Just identify what the mind is doing and let it go. Don't entertain it, don't follow it. Release yourself from that and then come back to breathing. The mind is very skillful in reacting to things, and it is this that we are being aware of. What is the mind reacting with? Identify it. Whether it is good or whether it is bad, it's okay. Just simply note it as a thought and then let it go. Don't stay with it. Don't nurture that thought. for joining with us. We will meet again. If you have any questions, you can perhaps text me or email me, and then I can respond to it either in the next session or personally over the telephone. So again, next week we'll meet at 7 o'clock following the half an hour religious observance. So we hope you will be able to practice this daily, at least 20 to 30 minutes every day with the same strategy if you're comfortable. Let your mind settle down with using a technique, and then slowly bring your attention to the breath and just watch that breath, being mindful of the way the mind functions. As you train your mind to be at one point, it always seeks something, so we pull it back, pull it back, pull it back. So don't let it proliferate, don't let it analyze, don't let it filter, don't let it be nurtured. Don't let that thought be nurtured by your personal views, likes, dislikes. Simply let go and then come back to breathing. So breathing exercise is stillness. For those who know that, it is called samatha, whereas understanding the mind and the way the mind functions is vipassana. Okay, and slowly we'll be able to develop our practice through this understanding. So we hope you have benefited from this broadcast. We'll see you again next Thursday at 7 o'clock. Okay, thank you for joining us with us today. And stay safe. Have a lovely evening.